not like careful at all about what I do. So we are here. We are once again at the second, I was going to say annual Mega Chill stream, but that wouldn't really make sense because it's not really a yearly thing. It's just kind of a sporadic thing. So anyway, welcome to the second Mega Chill stream, the second of probably many, many more that will be coming on the Comic Binge, I want to say network. I'm on the network, on my channel, for God's sakes. I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. So anyway, yes, we are here. We are joined by many, many people. We're going to be joined by the legendary Chris Clow later on, but today I'm also joined by some two good friends of mine, and we are now here. Yes, here I am, Paul. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And also joined by Adam from the Spidey Dude Experience. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Paul. Nice to be here again.
I know. It's been a while, man. It's been a minute. But anyway, but also joined by Chris Carey. Too many Chris's. There's too many Chris's in this world. All your fault.
That's
Chris
true.
Carey, how are you, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on. I know we've talked about you jumping on, doing a show with me for comics. You're a big comic book lover like myself. Why don't you tell the folks here how you got into comic books, and what are your favorite, just really, really quickly, just kind of go down, like what got you in, your origin story, if you will, and what are you reading right now, and we'll kind of just go from there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I'm a Marvel guy, as you could probably tell from the shirt. But I was not raised a Marvel guy. My dad, huge DC fan, like the biggest Superman fan I know. Real big into like Kurt Swan, that kind of era of Superman. So like some of my earliest memories are like watching those Superman cartoons where he fights the robots and everything. But I don't know. I was never really stuff. Yes, the Fleischer stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never really into comics, and then I was like a video game kid, big time. And I'll never forget, we had gone to the grocery store. I went with my parents. They usually like got me a video game magazine while I was there, and the magazine came with a spectacular Spider-Man comic.
Which one? Do you remember?
Yeah. So I actually recently looked it up. I think it was number 213. It's where he fights. I think her name is Bloody Mary. She was like typical kind of like a daredevil.
Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, Typhoid Mary. Yeah.
And it's got like the issue had like those freaky like drama masks on the cover. And I read it and I was like, what is this? Like I've never experienced something like this before. And immediately got hooked to my dad, bless him. He was a good sport about it. And so he like got me into like all the back issues, and this was like mid 90s. So this was like, yeah, I mean, I know people hate on the Clone Saga. But that was like,
not here, sir. That
was my bread and butter growing up. It was like this whole like drama of Peter Parker versus Ben Reilly. And, somebody who had like no real history with either one. I was like along for the ride to see what happened. And, when like Revelations came and then crumbles into dust, and just blew my mind. And then I kind of got out of it for a while. Then I went to like middle school and high school and college. And, and then it wasn't until Superior Spider-Man I found out about it. And then I was like, okay, I want to jump back in now. I think this sounds cool. That Dan Slott was bringing a lot of stuff back from, when I was a kid, and I thought, oh, this will be really great. So then I just spent a lot of years catching up. I'm actually still not fully I'm caught up in terms of like, I know what's going on, but in terms of like actually reading, I just like caught up to Secret Wars.
Oh, wow.
The 2016.
No, right. So you're still in the Dan Slott area. You haven't even hit Nick Spencer yet.
Yep.
Oh man, you're in. I mean, and I'm like the one guy on our podcast, and Adam will attest to this, that I am like the lone like Dan Slott supporter, which is weird because I'm not saying I love everything about that he's done, but for whatever reason, I am the only person on that whole Spider-Man area that they'll defend Dan Slott stories. It's weird. I'm curious.
Neil likes the big time stuff, but yeah.
Neil? I thought Neil didn't like it though.
He likes big time.
Okay. Really quick before we move on, we do have Chris Clow. He's here.
There he is.
Hey,
Hi. Too many
going,
Chris's
gentlemen?
in the house.
just two. That's actually kind of a low number compared to how many people have that name. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, anyway, as Mr. Carey was saying, we were talking about his current kind of what got him into comic books. Really cool. I love the fact that one of your other loves got you into comic books, basically, kind of by accident, or not accident, by design, because it was designed to help promote, get into the comic books, and it worked, basically. That's what's cool.
Yeah. What a weird issue too, right? Like that issue of like,
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
See, and this is why I always tell people, don't be afraid to jump in. Like, yeah, it's always cool to have a jumping on point. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But sometimes it's fun just to kind of go in and be like, what the heck is going on? And you kind of backtrack and through backtracking, you can always find something really fun to watch, or read. So yeah, I totally get it. And so right now you're just up to Secret Wars in your Spider-Man chronological order here, or is getting so that means you're probably 2 years away from Dan Slott. Adam, was that accurate, you think?
From the Spencer run, yeah, I think because that was like 2015 or 2016. So yeah, like couple years.
Yeah,
that's a lot. It's like I would just go to Spencer. Honestly, I mean it's a pretty good jumping on. I honestly do think like it's a pretty good. That is a good jumping on point. The Nick Spencer.
It is Nick Spencer. If you haven't been reading Spider-Man, I think that definitely Spencer's run which is 2018 when it started. Yeah,
summer.
It is
2018.
Yeah, it's by far the best, or like the best jumping on point of Spider-Man in a long time, and it's really good. I have been absolutely loving his run, which is sadly coming to an end soon. I'm so bummed out about that, but I mean he's pursuing independent stuff, so I mean I totally get why he's jumping off. So with this whole subspace or whatever it's called thing he's doing, so Substack, yeah, which is cool. I mean I think it's really cool what he's doing, but I'm just bummed he has to, who knows, it seems like he's kind of abruptly leaving. That's what it seems like.
Yeah,
but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we got Ben Riley coming back.
Yeah, we do.
Which is kind of weird. That sort of is coming out of nowhere. So
yes, you're the master of understatement. That's kind of weird, dude. It's weird.
I mean, it
is weird.
So that does like support the argument that like he is leaving before he maybe wanted to, or like the job, this job is just like too good of an offer. So it's like, all right, see you, Marvel.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And that's what you have to wonder though too, because considering Marvel's track record, probably about 10 or 12 years ago. Well, no, probably closer to 10 years ago now. Like with JMS on Thor, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to incorporate Thor into a crossover, and JMS said, "I don't want to do that." So he decided to cut his run short. Same
which
kind
ended
of
up
thing
in a
happened with
giant
him on
size
Spider-Man.
or giant size. Well, same thing kind of happened that's going on right now with Nick Spencer, is that the run is basically using giant size issues to get things moving, and just like with JMS's Thor run, they had the same thing. Like I think his last
finale. Yeah.
It was with
it was outside of the main series.
Right. And it was the kid and the goddess, right? It was like kind of a finale to that whole storyline.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird because Siege had such a heavy embedded kind of attitude with Thor, and then what happened. I mean, I liked Siege for what it was. It was a 4-issue quick and dirty miniseries that finished up Dark Reign, and I always loved seeing Norman Osborn get punched in the face by Spider-Man in the last issue. That was cool. It was good that he got the last punch, but I liked JMS's Thor a lot. So But you always hear these stories in the comics business about a creator who might be maybe kind of pushed out. I mean, there's probably like a degree of truth to the idea that maybe he didn't want to stay on it for too long and he wanted to explore other things, but also here's what we were planning to do with Spider-Man, and he's like,
So here's my suspicion. I think Adam probably shares this with me. I think he jumped off early, and I think that because he's jumping off early, that's why you have 4 different writers trying to like basically come up and like steady this whole thing in here, because it's what 4 writers is a lot. And
well, you and I talked about it, man. This is very, very reminiscent of the post One More Day, Brand New Day.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But that
2.0.
but that's my point too, is JMS had Spider-Man on lockdown. Like meaning like he had it written out to a T, and then once he had to bail out, he bailed out, and it was like a real. But the reason why I think it's different now is that you have, and Adam, we've had how many giant size issues? I'm like, why are we getting so many giant size issues? I don't get it.
Yeah,
like it's weird.
Well, we've gotten a lot of like of those 0.1 issues, and now we've just gotten the Chameleon Conspiracy giant size one and the King's Ransom giant size one, but those were kind of like, people were like wondering like, well, why is it this all of a sudden? Like, why couldn't these just be regular things that are maybe like split in 2 or something? So I don't know. Editorial has their reasons, I guess. I don't know. Well,
and I have to jump out for a quick second. I'll let you guys kind of talk amongst yourselves. But my last thing on this is, it seems like they've definitely accelerated. I think especially in the last, I'd say 8 months, really accelerated everything. Like, okay, let's get through. Let's get it's throwing so many different things out. I've been really enjoying it though. So I just hope that if his run ends on what he's kind of been hinting at, which if you haven't been reading, I'm going to zip it up right here. You got to just go see it. They've already hinted at a little bit. So if you're into it, like, I think they're going to get there. If they don't, I'm going to be a little disappointed, but we'll see. I have to jump out for a quick second. I'm going to let you guys kind of take over. Chris, Carey, I should say, Chris Carey. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're reading right now, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm reading a couple things right now. Something I just finished.
Okay.
I love this White Knight series. Really kind of can't get enough of it. Actually, I think it's just an interesting way that they're telling like the Batman story. Curious to see where it goes after. Well, I don't want to get into spoilers, but kind of curious. This Batman Harley Quinn pseudo romance I find very interesting. It seems a little. I don't know. I didn't think I would like it, and then the more I read it, the more I think maybe I do. I'm also reading the first Moon Knight epic collection. They just reprinted this, and then the next 2 volumes they're reprinting in the early next year. I haven't gotten quite to the issues where he I guess stars in the series. Some of the early stuff is a little meh, but and then I'm also reading Spider-Girl, which I grew up on Spider-Girl. I mean, I think I read maybe like the first 20 or so issues, so I think this covers up through issue 50. So at this point, it's all kind of brand new to me. But big Spider-Girl fan as well. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. What about you guys?
Man, I haven't read the MC2 stuff in a really long time. I should probably revisit that. I remember Spider-Girl being really fun. Well, when it comes to the White Knight stuff, had you read all of the previous series? Yep. Okay. Which one did you like the best?
I think I like the first one, the original White Knight,
the
more
Invader,
than
right? Yeah.
It had just really good humor. Just like there are a couple points where Batman will say something and then the Joker will respond, and there's one I was laughing out loud where Batman says something and the Joker is like, "Yeah, you're the greatest detective on earth," right? Just like really sarcastic. Just was cackling reading it.
Yeah, I need to catch up. I haven't read the Von Freeze one shot and
Okay.
I haven't started Harley yet, but I read the first two main series and I enjoyed the hell out of those. The concept of the Joker sort of going quote unquote sane is something that we have seen before, but the way that that Murphy does it, it feels really fresh. And I've always really appreciated his visual style too. There was a Vertigo book that he did, I want to say about 10 or 12 years ago, called Punk Rock Jesus, that was really good. I thought it was like it wasn't post-apocalyptic, but it was kind of a dystopic future where a group of people isolated the genetic material on the Spear of Destiny and cloned Jesus, and he grows up to be a punk rocker who is like idolized by the world. And it's a pretty solid concept, and it's a lot of fun. But White Knight it's kind of it seemed like it gave kind of a kick in the pants to some of the other Batman stuff, because ever since Scott Snyder left, and Tom King slowed down his output, people haven't really been talking about the main book very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly the satellite stuff, but the White Knight stuff has been really solid, I've thought.
I was a huge Scott Snyder fan, so seeing him leave, I tried to jump on with the Tom King stuff. It just didn't really mesh for me. And I haven't been following it a little while, so I don't really know kind of where they're at with that.
Well, with Tom King, I got the same kind of impression early on. In fact, in some of the podcasts that Paul and I have done, I talk about that quite a lot. At the beginning of Tom King's run, it didn't seem like he had a very good mastery of Batman's voice, which really bugged me. Like, he didn't sound like, at least I thought, Bruce Wayne should. But that is something that he did develop over time. And he was on the book for 80 issues, I think, before he hopped off. And now he's wrapping his run up in the Batman Catwoman miniseries that's running right now. And I haven't read that yet. But if you jumped off in the early days of Tom King's run, I'd encourage you to give it a try. I think a lot of it is on DC Universe now. So at least it's easily accessible and you don't have to go hunting for issues. He did a really good 2-issue story that was all about the friendship between Batman and Superman, that was presented with the conceit of a double date that Bruce and Selina went on with Clark and Lois. And it was really like sweet in a way that we don't often get a chance to see Batman be, but introducing Superman into that kind of a dynamic allows for that more contemplative. It's almost like he did a really good job of showing how they really admire each other. And that's something that, and those are basically my 2 favorite characters in fiction. So I just fell in love with those issues. And that to me was kind of a high point of King's run, but he did do a lot of interesting stuff. He did a story relatively early on called I Am Suicide that I thought was really solid. And yeah, Paul has very strong feelings about Tom King, but not from Batman, from other stuff.
Well, I love Tom King. I think Tom King is a lightning rod in this when you talk to a lot of other fans about him. I'm not one that's going to be, oh, I hate him or I think he's flawless. I kind of land probably more to I like him. He's definitely, I don't know. He's not, he doesn't fit every character. That's for sure. You know, but I definitely feel that he's written some amazing work. I think he's a great writer.
There is like a base level of quality with him, though. Like, I don't know if I've ever read a Tom King book where I just went, "Oh, that was awful." Like, if something didn't hit with me, it was just like, "Oh, well, that could have been better." You know, the one exception might be his big summer crossover event, Heroes in Crisis. I wasn't too fond of that, but I appreciated what he tried to do with it.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of Wally West fans were very disappointed by that book.
Right. All right. So, Mr. Chris Clow, because I think Mr. Chris Carey already. Do you have any more? That I know I bolted out right before you think you had a Harley Quinn book you put up.
Yeah.
Up there. Did you have anything else you want to add, sir?
No. I think I mean, all right. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. Go ahead. Your first time. You get the bulk of it. You get the bulk of it.
Tell Paul what he missed.
So no, but So my wife,
Okay.
every time we watch like a Loki or any TV
Sure.
show, you know, she's always like, "How do you know these characters? Like like who knows Captain America before the Captain America movie? Who knows Iron Man before the Iron Man movie?" And I actually picked this up very recently, and I'm in the middle of kind of going through it. This was my introduction.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know they had like, you know, they were around 30, 40 years before. And I knew the Fantastic Four because even though my dad was a DC guy, he really loved the Thing. So he was into Fantastic Four. But
I love Ben Grimm. I mean,
yeah, Ben Grimm. He's the best.
yeah.
But so when I, you know, it was again, mid 90s, another event, you know,
Did you watch the cartoon? The mid 90s cartoon?
Oh, wait, of what? Spider-Man?
No. Fantastic Four.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
Call on the four. Fantastic Four. Don't need no more. Oh God. It's
You
so
know
good.
the one that I liked that I could never watch because I think it was on Boomerang. It would be like on in the morning. I liked the Alex Toth one, the Hanna-Barbara Fantastic Four cartoon. I always thought that was cool because I always liked from a very young age I always liked the classic art style stuff. So I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, I used to watch those all the time when I was a kid. Like, you know, ones because they had ones with the Human Torch and Herbie, correct? Like they had like ones with both of them in it. Yeah, those were so good. But I was talking to my boy from comic book historians, and he was like, "Yeah, you can't find them anywhere, man. Like they're like gone." And I'm like, "Well, okay." Well, so Alex will, if you're not following comic book historians, please follow comic book historians. It's great. I love Alex. Alex, I love you. We have a bromance going on according to him, which is fine.
Well, let's not pretend to the 60s Marvel cartoons. I mean, is there anything better than when Captain America throws his mighty shield?
Yeah, it's called the 90s Fantastic Four theme
All
song.
those who chose to oppose his shield must yield.
No.
He's led to a fight and a duel is due. Then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain
It's fine.
America
It's
throws
good.
his mighty shield.
Yeah, but see, the 90s one is way more contemporary. It could be like a
That doesn't
pop
make
song.
it better. It doesn't make
Yeah, it
it better.
does. It makes it better in my book. Yeah, it does. I can pop on the Fantastic Four one and be like,
Your book is missing a few pages then, man. That's all I gotta say.
All right. But so Heroes Reborn, I want to say this for the record because I'm going to tell you right now that yes, Heroes Reborn it's a cash cow. It was a stunt. You put whatever you want into it, right? The thing, no pun intended. The thing is that Heroes Reborn was right. That was one of the last few things that I picked up before I jumped out of comic books. It was like that because I think the Clone Saga was just starting to end. I went back right after Heroes Reborn and got some more Spider-Man books. I got issue 75 of Revelations of the big Peter Parker comes back book, which is still great. I still love that comic, by the way. But that being said, I jumped out right at Heroes Reborn. And I grew up an Image guy, and I loving Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee. I love all that stuff, and I still do. And I want to say for the record right now, I went back and reread the Rob Liefeld Captain America stories years ago, and I remember expecting it to be like pretty bad because everyone loves to laugh at Rob Liefeld. He made Captain America boom, blah 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 blah. He does so he can't drop. Hey guys, you can't drop feet. Rob Liefeld can't drop feet, guys. Guess what? It's like, I get it.
And then Paul's just like, but his layouts are incredible. And it's like, yeah, we get it,
thank
Paul.
you. No, they don't get it. That's the problem. I'm the only person saying that because everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon of Rob Liefeld.
Well, the problem is, I mean, aesthetically, his art, I think, just leaves something to be desired because it's like to me, it's like a very late 80s, 90s style. But it's like there's something about it that's like not. I mean, Jim Lee's better. Jim Lee's in that same
Jim
vein.
Lee's one of the best maybe in the last 30 years. I mean, that's like
you talk about the layouts though, and it's kind of a shame that there are not I mean, comics in general don't have dedicated layout artists, except for in a couple of instances, like the 52 weekly series. Keith Giffen did the layouts for every issue and then left the actual page art up to the individual pencils, inkers, and colorists. But why not have someone who's good at layouts just do layouts? I think that there would be a lot of potential benefit. It's just like it's the stuff that's on those crunchy schedules that they rely on for stuff like
and that's what I'm and honestly, why they don't do that now is exactly what you're saying, Chris, is why don't they do it? Because scheduling, right? Why they should, because if someone was laying it out, that's what they did back in the day. Ron Friends was talking about in multiple interviews. I listened to him back in him in the 80s, how he got his start was basically he wasn't, he was refining his again, I'm putting words, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. So if I get something wrong, apologies to Ron Friends, who's a legend, underappreciated legend, by the way. He basically, if I understand correctly, he got his start basically because he was such a great storyteller of laying out things that he did the layouts for a ton of artists. And then the artist would draw over his layouts because he knew how to tell a story. And he was a great artist. And then he kind of just kept getting work and whatever. So, and that's the thing that people like Ron Friends helped books get out on time.
That reminds me too. Do you remember the story Captain America 601? Right after the main anniversary issue, when Brubaker was still on the book, he worked with Gene Colan for that issue.
Oh wow! Okay.
And Brubaker talked. Yeah, because this was back in like 2010, maybe 2009,
something like that. Yeah.
And I remember an interview with Brubaker where he said that it was funny because Colan said that you've written too much because he's so used to the Marvel method. So like Brubaker would do what he would adapt his style to the old Marvel method so that Gene Colan could do what he ended up doing so well for so long.
Just a plot.
And Colan ended up winning the Eisner that year for best single issue art, I think. So but he was penciler, inker, and apparently co-plotter.
And that's the thing about comic books is there's no wrong way to do it. And that's one thing, in a how to write comic book that Denny O'Neil put out, he brought out the Marvel method, the script method. But in the end, regardless of what method you go down, the artist is doing the bulk of the work. And the problem is that artists take forever right now. Part of it's because they're learning on the job or whatever. And they need to, maybe it would be easier for them if they had someone just go out there and go, hey, instead of trying to draw 3-4 panels, why don't you do actually 6-7 panels and have it sequentially? I'm not going to say it. There's artists out there that don't know what they're doing or whatever, but just saying it helps them learn the craft a little bit and adapt and develop when you have someone doing layouts for them in some way or another. But anyway, my end thing on Heroes Reborn is this: Heroes Reborn, Captain America, at least that's the only one I've read recently, is actually, I think the first 6 issues or whatever, that first arc with Rob, is actually pretty good. It's not bad. I think it's a pretty solid take on the character. It's written by Jeff Loeb, people love Jeff Loeb, and it's Rob Liefeld. That first issue I posted a while ago of Cap throwing his shield, and it's right at the page. Oh, it's so dynamic and rad. And I'm like, yes, Rob Liefeld gets comic books. You can hate him all you want. You can say he sucks, but dude knows how to lay out a page. And that's what you need to do in comic books. I don't care. I'll take someone who can't draw feet over someone who can lay out a story. That's just me. Anyway, what was you like Heroes Reborn?
I love Heroes Reborn. And it's I grew up with it, as a kid. Sure. So obviously you get the nostalgia factor, but I think 2 things that did really great for me. One, Jim Lee on Fantastic Four is just undeniable. Great. And then also the last arc where they fight Galactus, I thought was incredibly well done, because instead of having, in the original Fantastic Four, Galactus shows up, it's like a 3-parter, and then they beat him at the end. And this, they fight him, they lose, he destroys the world, Doctor Doom gets away, does it again, and then they lose again, and they lose again. And then it's not until that 4th issue when Doctor Doom has all this knowledge of, okay, this is how we screwed up the other times. And then they were able to finally beat him. And I even, I read it as a kid and mind blown. I read it now and I'm still like, damn, this is just a really good story. It's because
that's pretty cool. Okay.
it gives Galactus that level of threat, that level of menace, because he wins. You get to see what happens when he wins. I think it's why Infinity War works so well, is because you introduce Thanos and then you see him win. If you introduce Thanos and then you beat him, he's not a really memorable villain. I think it's when the villain shows up and they have some degree of they win, or you get to see what happens when the heroes lose, or you get to see what the stakes are. And in this case, the stakes are they all die over and over and over again. I just thought it was really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, I never read all of. I only read the first like 2-3 issues of that, and his artwork is so good. I mean, it's always good, right? But I mean, it's his. I'll never forget the first issue. Right, is a double page spread of the Thing reveal of Sue Storm. Like she's like she's like in the ground in the water, like under the wreckage, and it's a 2-page spread of just the Thing spread out. Oh. It's gorgeous art. I love. It's also unfortunately it's a butt shot of Sue Storm. Thanks, Jim Lee. But it's the '90s. That's what That's it was the '90s. That's what it was about. It was the '90s. What do you
different
expect,
time.
It was a different time. But no, it's a beautiful pages, I should say. But yeah, Heroes Reborn is not. It's not as bad as people want to think. Especially the first part with Captain America. With Rob Liefeld. I'm curious, have you read that at all, Chris?
Yeah, I have. I've read all of them. So I have the Iron Man, the Avengers, the Captain America,
What'd you think of that of Rob Liefeld? Did you like it, not like it?
No, I think he draws faces a little funny, personally.
I guess I give you that. I would give you that. I'll give you that a little bit.
But again, when I read it, I didn't know anything about. I mean, I knew he was frozen in the ice, and then he was right in the present. So getting to see him with the family, and then there's that review where they're not. That was cool, right? It's just knowing nothing about Captain America. You kind of get you're like, okay, all right, Captain America, he's a family guy, makes sense, right? He's Captain America. He's
Captain America,
right? And then they pull the rug out from under you, and you're reading it, and you're 10 years old, and you're like, what am I getting into? And then they really go hard on Tony Stark being an alcoholic and on all the problems that he has, and they go big into the Hulk and Loki, and so that was really my first introduction of a lot of those characters.
Really?
Yeah. So and they 90s it up, but and obviously I have a great appreciation for the characters now, having read a lot more of it, but it's as a starting off point, I think it's solid.
No, I that's a good point. The last thing I'll say about the Heroes Reborn. I'm gonna butcher this guy's name because I can't pronounce anyone's name. Wells Patachio, his art in Iron Man, it's incredible. Incredible. It sucks that he's not on every issue. He's only on the first 2, I think. But dude, that first issue, the art alone. The first 2, I should say, because the second issue he takes on the Hulk, and
great cover too of I think it's the Hulk over him. And
yes. No, so good.
It's great.
No, seriously, go online and read those 2 issues on Marvel Unlimited. It's so good. You have to read the captions. Just look at the pictures. It'll tell the story perfectly. It's so good. Which by the way, that's how I read comics when I was a kid. I could read, but I didn't care. I could read the story by the pictures. That's one reason why I love art.
Did Mark Silvestri do any of the Heroes Reborn stuff?
Did he do? I thought it was Will. I thought Wills did Iron Man. Maybe it was. No, it wasn't Silvestri. It's got to be Wills. I'm pretty sure it was Wills.
Portasio and Liefeld, and
Lee. And then Cheap.
So they were just going after the Image founders then.
Yeah, and then well, Silvestri was an Image founder, but no, Silvestri wasn't. I think he was already doing
Lee, Liefeld, and Portasio all Image founders.
I think Silvestri was well into his Top Cow production stuff. He was really deep into that, like Witchblade and I think Darkness. Yeah, Darkness was just starting up, which I still have never read. I've heard good things, but I never read it. Oh God!
They should have gotten Eric Larson to do something.
He did eventually. He did a Defenders run with Kurt Busiek,
but not during Heroes Reborn.
Oh no! I don't think Eric was into it at that point. I think Eric was pretty much like, I've got my Savage Dragon thing, which I have bought a ton of Savage Dragon graphic novels recently because I want to go back and read it. So, or I want to go back and read what I've read and also keep going forward because it is a ongoing extravaganza, if you will. But anyway, all right. So awesome, dude. I love the fact you brought up Heroes Reborn, Mr. Carey. That is rad, dude. That's again, that first Cap stuff with Rob Liefeld. It's not bad. It's actually pretty cool. I think so. So, Mr. Adam, do you have anything you wanted to say? You've been reading anything cool recently, sir?
I did think about something. This one's off the wall, but it's relevant because it's got a movie adaptation coming out in a couple weeks. I read Sandcastle, which is what that new Shyamalan movie is based on, apparently.
No, okay. Who wrote it originally?
I don't remember. I can look it up.
You suck. I'm just kidding. I love you, Adam.
But yeah, it's like this. I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of like a horror thing, but it almost seems a little more philosophical. Like it's got a little moral to the story, and it seems like they're going for the movie. They're gonna go like straight up horror for it. But I don't know. It was an interesting read. It read well. It has a good kind of creepy atmosphere. Like you don't know what's going on, and these characters are just like, what's happening? Why is this happening to us? Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's this weird off the wall thing. Let's see. It's by, what is his name?
Yeah, I didn't. I knew that
like French
M. Night was coming out with a new story, but I didn't know it was actually based off a graphic novel or a comic.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Let's see.
I always forget M. Night likes comic books. That whole movie Unbreakable.
Yeah, he's got his whole
so
he's got his own comic book universe basically. It's by Pierre Oscar Levy and Frederick Peters.
Okay, I'll check this
that out.
You think I'd be into it? I'm just curious. You know my taste a little bit.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of like it's a sort of a low key. I mean, it's not. I think anyone would like it. Really, it's just like kind of.
Cool.
It's a mystery thing. It's just what is it?
Okay,
a family
psychological thriller.
Not totally psychological, but it's just kind of like it's this really just weird story of like they go to this beach and all of a sudden they notice that they're aging very rapidly.
Huh.
It's just an odd like sci-fi thing, and there's like there's a point like it's either in the middle or like 3/4 through where like it's almost like we're gonna get an answer, but it brings up more questions, and it's just kind of like, okay.
Is it who put it out? Like, was it Image or anything?
I don't know who put it out.
I'm gonna check this out. You convinced me. I'm gonna.
Publisher is Self-Made Hero.
Oh, cool. So it's a true independent book, man. That's
yeah.
rad. All right. Well, you've won me over. I was telling some people at work today. They were noticing my comic books in the background, and I said, my goal right now is just to support my family and to promote comic books because it's a medium that is underappreciated, and I want people to read comics, and there's a comic out there for everybody. You just got to find it.
Much, yeah.
And I think this is it Sandcastle, you said?
Yeah, it's called Sandcastle. I'll give you the link to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm super stoked for that. That sounds really cool.
It's like I said, it's just a weird mystery, subtle kind of horror thing, atmospheric, a lot of questions, kind of philosophical toward the end. Like I said, the movie looks like it's going in a totally different direction, but like the premise is there,
yeah. Well, I mean, if it's a movie, he probably has to condense it a lot, right? So I mean,
well, the thing is, this thing is only like I think 100 pages, so yeah, it's 112
even then,
pages.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm like even more intrigued now. I think even though I didn't love Glass as much as I wanted to, I thought it was still a solid, decent film. And I love M. Night movies for the most part, besides like maybe The Happening. That movie's pretty bad. And Lady in the Water is not very good either. But I love The Village. Freaking love that movie. That movie is underappreciated in my opinion. I think it's great. Yeah, so I'm definitely on par with that. Mr. Clow, what have you been reading, man?
Mostly older stuff. You know, you saw the absolutes that I got relatively recently, and I was thumbing through those and kind of I'm kind of trying to reappraise the New 52 because well, I started with Justice League, and you know, I always thought that Justice League was a solid book. Like I never really agreed with people who seem to think that the New 52 was the worst possible thing to visit comic book readers and their mothers. You know, like people still like they spit venom when they talk about the New 52, and a lot of creators that were involved in it are talking about it more on social media, like Gary Simone, Gail Simone.
Yeah, Gary Simone.
Ooh,
Yeah, everybody
brother.
knows Gary Simone, right?
Her brother, yeah. Twin
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, right.
You know, yeah.
No, but Gail Simone was talking recently about her time on Batgirl and how, you know, there was an oppressive corporate environment that might have hampered quite a bit of books, but at the same time too, ignoring the stuff that worked is not good for anybody. And it seems like the stuff that fell flat gets more credit than the good stuff, which is strange. Like comic book fans seem more prone than other fandoms, at least I think, of accentuating what they love as opposed to just, you know, casting up. Like
that's only Twitter on everything, Chris. Not just comics. That's Twitter, and that equals to everything.
That's a fair point.
If there's a fandom, those people probably will just talk about what they hate about it, rather than what they love. But that's just in general.
True.
But continue.
But all I'm saying is that very rarely do people bring up a long-standing run or initiative purely because it was bad, right? Like even people who hate the Clone Saga with all of their being will probably find something nice to say about it because it happened for so long. There was bound to be good stuff in there sprinkled because it lasted for as long as it did. And really the New 52 is kind of in a similar boat. It wasn't one character, but it was like a line-wide recalibration of the entire DC universe. Some things didn't work, but some things did. I mean, Chris and I were talking earlier about how Scott Snyder's Batman just really caught on. And that was probably the poster child for the New 52. All in all, I'm generally of the belief that Batman had a pretty solid time overall in the New 52, not just on Snyder's title, because in that time you also had Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason on Batman and Robin. It was only 40 issues, but it was a really solid book. And you also had Grant Morrison finishing out his Batman run with the second volume of Batman Incorporated. You had some really interesting and kind of off the beaten path runs on Detective. Sometimes they get lost in the mix with what Snyder was doing, but you had Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato that did some really solid work on Detective. I wasn't a huge fan of what Tony Daniel did when he started the new volume of Detective, but at the same time, that was a very small piece of the puzzle overall. And I'd never denigrate Daniel as an artist. He is an impeccable artist.
Great artist.
I mean, Charles Soule's only DC work was during the New 52, and he did some pretty solid stuff. He did one of the Villains Month .1 issues of Action Comics that focused on Lex Luthor, and it was a really solid issue focused on Lex Luthor.
Not surprised. Soul is freaking amazing. I love him.
And that was the only DC work that he did, as far as I know. But as an initiative overall, it just seems a little unfair to throw the entire thing under the bus. I think you should call a spade and realize that certain things that didn't work. But at the same time, you also had these kind of quirky books like All-Star Western with Jonah Hex, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Justin Gray. That was a lot of fun. And we don't really get a lot of Western books in general now. And the fact that it was part of the New 52 is cool. So
I remember at the time I was reading like Animal Man by Jeff Lemire, and that was my first introduction to Jeff Lemire, and that was pretty solid. I only jumped off because I was poor at the time, you know, and
There
couldn't
was-
buy every book, you know.
There was some story on Bleeding Cool that I was reading the other day where people were talking about the New 52, and of all people, James Gunn was talking about, like, it was an anecdote captured from James Gunn that I guess he shared on Twitter about how it was New 52 Suicide Squad that reconnected him with the thing that he's about to release a movie about. So, I mean, that's not insignificant. And then you had another guy who specifically cited Lemire and who was his artist? I can't remember his art, but Lemire's Animal Man as like a primary inspiration to get into comics. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he is a steady worker with the big two, and that's not insignificant either. You had Snyder and Yannick Paquette do a new volume of Swamp Thing that tried to go in its own direction, and you had some pretty interesting stuff crossing Swamp Thing and Animal Man over between Lemire and Snyder, with the rot and the green and the red, all of that stuff intersplicing just these core concepts, and it was cool stuff. And then you had the signature DC Universe book in Justice League that I always enjoyed when it was coming out. I mean, I've talked before about my affinity for the work of Jeff Johns, which is more dangerous a thing to say now than it used to be, which is kind of, it is what it is. But hey, I mean, people have their own perspectives and opinions on things, but his Justice League run is really solid. And you saw like Lex Luthor and Captain Cold join the team briefly, which was kind of fascinating. And Luthor hold Bruce Wayne's secret identity over his head during that time. The best stuff with Superman that was not written by Grant Morrison or Greg Pak or Gene Luen Yang or Johns in the dedicated book was probably in Justice League, in a time that was rougher on Superman than it was on Batman. But then again, you had Greg Pak on Action Comics, on Superman on an ongoing capacity, a guy who can write really good comics. And he had his whole time devoted to Superman. And I even got a chance to ask him, is that something you'd ever be interested in doing again? And he said, I love Clark. I'd jump at the chance to do Superman again. So, I just, the knee-jerk reactions, admittedly, it's something I fall into as well with some things. But that Absolute edition of Justice League Origin just really kind of inspired me to take stock. And, in the Zack Snyder director's cut of the movie, I saw a fair amount of that book in that movie. Not the least of which being it was the New 52 that put Cyborg on the Justice League. So it was really solid.
Well, I want to go back and read that. I have not read the whole thing. I've only read the first couple issues.
We've talked about doing Darkseid War.
We'll do Darkseid War. Go ahead.
Well, just because that was the story that introduced the concept of three Jokers for the first time, and I know you were such a fan of that story.
Oh, that story
is a great book.
Yeah, that is an instant classic. Yeah. That to me that's one of my favorite comic books I've read in years. It's so good. So, oh man, it's so good. But yeah, I want to read that. What I'd like to do actually is read the first arc of the New 52 Justice League, and then Mark Waid's Year One Justice League story, and kind of like read them side by side and kind of see how.
Next time I see you, man, read it from this Absolute. Because
I like absolutes.
The Absolute is the first 12 issues, so it's the first Lee story. But then Ivan Reis did he did some of the art on the second arc.
Okay,
and it kicks things off in a pretty good style. So,
all right.
But also, too, let me just one more thing because you brought up Nick Spencer. Oh, what is
one
this?
More thing.
Nick Spencer, man.
One more day.
No.
One more day.
No.
One moment in time.
That was okay. Omit was okay. It was kind of a nothing story. It wasn't.
Hurry up, Cloud. Do it. I'm losing steam.
Nick Spencer. I've been reappraising his Captain America recently.
Yes.
Where are you? What the hell are you doing?
Just keep
What are
going.
you doing?
What are you doing, man? Now you're distracting me. What the hell is
Let's
going
go.
on?
Nick Spencer, Captain America, go.
Never mind. Never mind. We'll do this another time.
No. You're
Uh-huh.
you're rereading Captain America by Nick Spencer.
Up through Secret Empire, and it feels like it's a more relevant book now than it did when it was coming out.
I
In a lot of ways. Like
he wrote. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. What were you gonna say?
He wrote a bunch of the Falcon Cap stuff, and
Which I have not read.
And I like Nick Spencer a lot, by the way. It did not hit me. I was like, this is not, I feel that was such a misstep by Marvel by getting him on Cap. And even Secret Empire, which I don't know if it was all him, if that was an editorial thing where they got him in to like orchestrate it. I'm not sure if it's his straight idea. It's not a terrible idea, I don't think completely. It's just I don't know it anyway. But you think it hits more now than before?
Yeah, because it's about I always appreciate when Captain America can be used to try and make a point. And it's funny because now people are saying, oh, you're politicizing Captain America.
Yeah, literally today.
Yeah, literally today.
Oh,
And it's just like, well, first of all, how many Cap comics have you read if you're freaking out about that now?
read more comics, man. Yeah.
Read more comics. But also, too, I mean, just
Captain America is not, he doesn't believe in the American dream anymore. It's not Captain America.
Like,
He would never do that.
don't show them
Never.
anything with Nomad then at all.
Yeah, or the captain.
Or
that
the captain,
literally
yeah.
the Falcon Winter Soldier is based off of.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Ugh.
why weren't they freaking out about that show? Anyway, it's always the comics because they think the kids. Oh no, the kids are good. It's like
The kids aren't reading them anymore.
we're reading Captain
Yeah,
America.
yeah, that's true.
You know?
Kids are like, I
That's-
want to play video games.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, the idea that
I'm so old.
that underpins and granted, Paul, you and I got into it when his first Steve Rogers issue came out because I was outraged, right? Which I'm sure is exactly what he wanted. Because
People burned the book. Remember? I remember saying that.
God,
I'm gonna
yeah, I
burn
remember
this
that.
comic. I was like, oh
I
my
remember
God,
that, man.
people.
I sure as hell
Why?
didn't burn it. In fact, last year, right before I moved, I went back and acquired the Steve Epting variant because it's like and it's Epting. It's Epting in Captain America, so it gets me in my heart. But the idea of taking a symbol that's as strong as Steve Rogers and subverting it in a way that forces you to re-examine why you give value to those symbols in the first place. We've seen a lot of that in society over the past couple of years. And like, what is it that gives value to this symbol and who really gives value to this symbol?
Yeah.
And what does that mean if something like the American flag is a Rorschach ink blot, no pun intended, because this is a comic book stream, that people can look at it and see totally different things, right?
Yeah.
Does
No,
the American
yeah.
flag stand for any one specific symbol? And by that extension, does Steve Rogers stand for any one specific conception of what inspires those ideals? And I didn't appreciate it at the time, but especially going into Secret Empire itself, he teed that up quite nicely. And he, by using the sentient cosmic cube to bring Steve back and force him to face a perverted conception of himself, that's really where everything funnels into that finale in a way that justifies everything that came before in a way that I frankly couldn't see coming. And I it's a mea culpa on my part. I think that people were a little too harsh on him, especially considering where that run went.
Well, I think Nick Spencer is just he's a really interesting kind of storyline of itself of his whole, like, he had a Republican, he has a conservative past, he kind of rebukes that past now. And it's one of those things where it's fascinating what he's done and what he's been able to do with comic books. And people like hold it against him. I've seen people like online say that he's like racists or a bigot because he used to be conservative. I'm like, what? I'm like,
That's not how
I'm
that
like,
works.
okay. It's so weird, dude. I don't get it. And people like we need to fire
Well,
Nick
but
Spencer for
really,
like,
it's not even about like ideologies, conservatism versus liberalism. That is what it looks like on the surface, probably. But when it comes to the Captain America stuff, it's really more about a far more fundamental theme. When you look at the idea of the Hydra Cap basically taking over the country, like people trusted Steve Rogers enough to give him all of this power, not knowing that he was corrupted by Red Skull and by Hydra. And he believes these things so intently because he was twisted at he thinks he was twisted at a very early point in his life, at a very impressionable point in his life. It really comes back to a core of how do you define freedom, and can you define freedom without the shadow of fascism? Because Hydra Cap is very devoted to this kind of authoritarian ideal of exerting strength, exerting like raw power or hard power, as they would say in the international relations world, to create a more peaceful society. Whereas things like soft power that uses diplomacy and reasoning with other states or with other people who believe different things is almost looked down upon as secondary to the exertion of force. And Steve, obviously, he wants to punch fascists in the face, but he wants to do that so that we can exert the soft power that's not often looked up to. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a poli-sci tangent, but those are the kinds of things that I think are prevalent in the thematic workings of his run that I have grown to appreciate. So,
do you guys have anything to add about Secret Empire or anything?
I'll say that the Deadpool tie-ins to Secret Empire were super dope. I love that. I mean, look, I'm a big Deadpool fan, and I know it's easy to kind of like dismiss him as one note, but that last run particularly was so poignant that Dugan did with him, and just like you felt for it. Like, I don't know, I read a lot of these Deadpool versus one shots, and he's just like, it's just joke after joke after joke, and it can get really old. But when he's got this stuff going on with his daughter, and he's trying to be a good dad, and then he's the whole run was like how much he loved and respected Captain America and was willing to do anything for him and to stand by him no matter what, and to kind of see what happens when that person that you stand behind, that you think is stands for good and right and for justice, and to just see them pervert everything that you believe in, and to see how far they can push him. And that's ultimately what ends up happening. He kills Phil Coulson and sort of snaps. And I thought, and I haven't read Secret Empire. I mean, I know what happens in it. I haven't read it, but I've read those Deadpool tie-ins, and just getting that out of the story I thought was really.
You never know where those tie-ins are going to hit you harder in some ways, and sometimes those come from really unexpected places. But yeah, I don't think I read those Deadpool tie. Maybe I'll have to revisit those. Sounds fun. Paul, did you ever read?
Let Adam go.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
No, I don't really have any opinions on Secret Empire.
Oh, sorry. My new puppy is outside my door trying to get in, so she's like crying. I left the door open downstairs. It's the whole thing. Chris, what
you should read New 52 Hawk and Dove. Your boy wrote and drew it.
I know, Rob Liefeld, man, my boy.
He did it. Didn't he do a volume of Deathstroke in the New 52 as well?
He did like our first couple issues, and he got mad. That's the thing about Rob. He gets really
mad.
He did. He got mad. I mean, I'm not going to deny.
Hey,
he got mad. Well, for instance, I want to say this right now, that it's interesting because he just recently did a copy or a comic of The Shield. Have you of Archie Comics The Shield? And I read the comic, and he got mad because one of the artists that was doing a variant cover like spoiled his story, and he jumped off. He's like, I'm out. Like, you guys don't do that to me.
Yeah.
And I can understand his being upset, but he's bolted. He's like, I'm out. Get someone else to do this. I'm like, okay, it's a little weird, whatever. But it's his prerogative, whatever. It's his, his rep. But But I read the comic, he wrote it and drew it, and it's good. I liked it. Like I'm like, man, this is, again, good layouts, good action. but here's the thing though, like I will say his faces do all look the same. I will give you that he can't draw feet, sure, whatever. I mean, he can draw feet, but he doesn't draw them exactly the way people want him to, whatever. But
that feels like a forgivable quirk.
Right. But hold on. His faces, I will say, do tend to look a lot alike. I will say that. And so with that, you know, I would say go into it knowing that, but I really like his costumes are so cool though, man. Like the way he draws, I love the way he draws superheroes. They're so cool. And again, the layouts are great. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious. It's really,
would
cool.
you guys say Mark Bagley's faces all look the same?
Yeah, I would say yes.
I would say no. Here's my thing is that like every comic artist, if they're doing like a superhero book, they do like the same face for a man, they do the same face for a woman with like a couple varying degrees of differences, you know. I think that's just like kind of part of the medium, you know, hitting that deadline.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, well, geez, Bagley was pretty famous for churning pages out like a maniac.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And how many issues of Ultimate Spider-Man did he do? Like over 100, didn't he?
I think he did 100. I think it was, I don't know, it was at least 100.
That's insane. Well, and he did, there was a weekly DC book that he didn't do like a full page count. Like I don't think it was 20 pages, but he did like 10 pages on a weekly schedule for a year, which doesn't sound easy. But that was where I kind of realized, hey, maybe does it kind of run together a little bit? But at the same time, considering his speed, everything's always very clear. You know,
right.
Like he does a good job of telling a story, and he's probably better suited to a character like Spider-Man, whose face is covered. Yeah. Like I remember not being particularly impressed with his work on Fantastic Four with Matt Fraction.
Well, that's because Matt Fraction's story sucked.
But the book, I mean, the book overall was just not great.
I would agree, but I think part of it's the writing too. I don't think he gave Mark Bagley much to draw. I mean, they're basically doing dimensional time hopping, which just didn't really, in my opinion, wasn't the greatest story. And I'm a pretty big FF fan, and it sucks. I'm not even reading it right now because the Slot story has not grabbed me whatsoever.
Oof, really?
Yeah. I liked the first arc. The first arc wasn't terrible, but the ones after that I've not been into. And I gotta say that I was not into when the Thing punched out the Hulk. That's when I said I'm out.
Oh, I remember you getting mad about that. Yeah,
I'm still mad about that, to be quite honest. So anyway, so we'll kind of finish out the Mega Chill mix here. Or mega stream, excuse me, Mega Chill mix. Maybe someone can contrive some kind of awesome margarita mix for us. Why
don't you take a crack at Electronica and make the Mega Chill mix?
Yeah. Ooh, all right.
Just saying.
You know me. I can make a Mega Chill mix. I can make a playlist like none other.
Yeah, but you're a musician. You make the music.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Adam knows. Adam knows. I don't think Adam knows I used to play. Well, I told you, Adam.
I think you mentioned it.
Bands.
I've been to a couple of Paul's shows. They were good.
That's right. He has. So yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna finish out the night here, boys. Unless anyone wants to add anything about anything like Mark Bagley, Matt Fraction, anything. That's a big lightning rod for me, sir. So, which I don't hate Matt Fraction. I just think he's average. Anyway,
depends on the
as
book.
I was saying, was that
depends on the book.
I would agree. 100%.
Iron Man is spectacular.
His Iron Man is great. His Hawkeye is great. His Thor is garbage. His Fantastic Four was garbage.
His Thor wasn't garbage. It was just not as good as Iron Man or Hawkeye.
Anyway,
work is fun. Ian Zdarsky on Sex Criminals. That was a great book.
I have zero interest in ever reading that book. Anyway, so I went to the comic store and I'm almost I've gone back and forth about this idea, Chris, about going to our old friend Jeff from Ancient Comics and doing a live show from his, because that dude is insane. I love him. I freaking love. If you're in Washington State and you're in the Western Washington area, go to Ancient Comics. His name is Jeff. Tell him Paul sent you. He probably doesn't remember who I am, but it doesn't matter because he's awesome.
Give him a picture and he'll be like, "Oh, that guy!
I love that guy." Let me tell you something. Do you have any comics? I can't buy enough comics right now. So I'm gonna tell you, he's awesome. Like go find him on Facebook. Dude has connections. All he does is sell back issues. All his businesses. It's amazing.
And he has a shockingly recent degree of books as well, because people trade in brand new stuff to him.
Yeah, all the time. So I went the other day, only spent $20, but because he's my boy and I'm his boy. Apparently, he always hooks me up. Super great dude. I picked this up, and this is something that Adam, our friends Kelly and Zach will be into. This is a Fantastic Five by this is the MC2 material. If you're familiar with Tom DeFalco's run on Fantastic Four, which I think is a very fun run, I very much enjoy it. Maybe got a little long-winded at the end. I also got the Spider-Girl 1 and 2. I will get one. I hope we will get volume 3 for at some point. Maybe I'll get it for a present for my wife or something. Someone wants to gift it to me, whatever. I'm not going to hold anyone back to want to gift me things. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, this is he had this for like $7, 5 issues, $7. It can't.
It's a steal.
All 5 issues. Heck yeah.
He also has the whole like series of J2 for like $12. So I mean, which I already bought. He had I bought it, and then he replaced it the next day with another set. That's how many this dude has. Dude's unreal. Anyway, I can't wait to eventually read this when I get into my MC2 binge, which is going to be a while, but I'm stocking up. So Zach, Kelly, I'm stocking up. Just so you know. Now this is something that they've released multiple times in trade. It's a David Michelinie, Bob Layton, John Romita Jr. Iron Man story, but the cover it's everything about this book is so freaking cool that I had to buy this version. And I kept dickering with him because he just was like, "No, man, this is old. You can't blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh, come on." Finally, we settled on something, and I'm very happy. This is Iron Man and Dr. Doom. Look at this cover. Look at this cover. This is unreal. So cool. And it's got old school Marvel logo, bro. I mean, you can't.
There you go.
This is, and it just and the art is the coloring is this old school, so it's not been overly computerized yet. So it's just got little pixels and everything. I just love it. This is just gorgeous. I love it. So yeah, this cover, dude. There's something about this cover is just so cool. So cool. So let me see what I'm gonna find out what comics these are from. 149, 150, 249, and 250. So if you want to actually read these comics, again, it's Iron Man 149, 150, 249, 250. I can't wait to read this. This is so much fun. And this cover, I would buy this on the cover. And I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here. You can judge a book by its cover, especially a comic book cover. And that's a lost art in a lot of comic books these days. When I was a kid, I picked things up all the time for covers.
Mm-hmm.
People, they've got to do something better with these covers. Yes, it's fine to have poses of all that crap. I get it.
That's just
vintage.
Pinups,
Right. Give me a cover that's going to engage the reader. That when they're like, "Oh, what's that?" Because when I was a kid, that's what got my attention. Give me comic books that have great covers that tell me what's going to happen, at least a hint at what's going to happen in that comic book, and make me read it. So anyway, this will make anyone read this comic book. It's got Dr. Doom, Iron Man with goddamn medieval swords. Come
Crossing
on,
swords.
It's almost a first step in Infamous Iron Man.
This is almost like this is not even fair. This should give everyone. This should be making a mint. You should have printed off 1 million of these and should have been sold out because it's so good. Like even Grandma Lily should have been like, "Oh, this is so cool! They got Iron Man and Doctor Doom with swords." I mean,
Make
come
a
on.
trade gun instead of a t-shirt gun and just
Yeah.
pump it out. and
Yeah.
smack
Here,
them in the
Iron
face.
Man and Doctor Doom with swords.
Yeah.
You know how much iron that is?
Yeah. I mean, it's oh,
Just like,
it's so
cool.
good. I can't wait to read it. I got two more things. The last thing I got at Ancient Comics recently, which again, God bless you, Jeff. Go see Ancient Comics and tell him Paul sent you because I love Jeff. This Mark Grunwald Hawkeye miniseries. Now, drawn by Brett Breeding. And I gotta tell you guys, this book, I can't wait to get in this book because Mark Grunwald is vintage classic Marvel Comics. Dude could write the hell out of a Marvel comic. His ideas may not always be gold, but dude can write a comic book and have it be fun. And the art is so good. And again, layouts, man. I'm all about layouts. Give me some layouts. And I'm telling you, like, I'm no joke. I know it's funny. It's fun to laugh at it. I get it. And trust me, I get it.
No,
But-
it's just like someone tells you about a good comic book they're reading, and you're just like, yeah, but how are the layouts?
No, seriously. How are the layouts? That's why I buy
call,
comics. If I'm gonna buy like splash pages, let's go read children's books, man. Come on,
Yeah.
Be real.
Sometimes splash pages.
No, you're
are
right.
good.
When their name is when they're called Walt Simonson, and he's done it
Yeah.
for Thor, and it's amazing.
Dan
Anyway,
Jurgens and Superman.
that's true too. This is so good. Like, look at this. This is just so rad. I love this, and like the art is just great. I can't wait to like just dive into this. Oh God, you guys can see this here. Like this is so cool. Sorry, I'm trying to never figure out my camera angle, obviously. So, but yeah, like this is fantastic. I love this stuff. And I'm not sure, I've never read this. I don't know. I know Mark Grunwald has an awesome forward before the comic book, and he talks about his love of the character. And it's a mini series that he talked about how Jim Shooter basically was like, they're green lighting like every mini series they could at the time. And he's like, "Hey, I do a Hawkeye mini series." Like, "Yeah, sure, here you go." And he's like, "All right, cool." And so he wrote the story, and I'm just like, cool. Yeah, I love it. And again, just like the Iron Man and Doom book, this has not been oversaturated with computerized stuff, so it looks super vintage and looks rad. So, which I don't mind that computerized stuff, but it's always fun to go back and read comics with the way they were created back in the day. And this is no exception. I cannot wait to read this. So this is definitely on the read pile. Now, the last thing that I've been reading was brought to me by my buddy, my bromancian, Alex. If you're on there, say something. I'm not sure if you're on there or not. He probably isn't. He watches after the fact. It's cool. He's a busy guy. I get it. Anyway, Alex from the Comic Book Historians, he said, "Have you ever read Fool Killer?" And I was like, the 90s comic, which I, there's also a Max Bemis version in 2016, which is complete dog crap. Don't read it. Sorry, I'm not a Bemis fan. Sorry, Bemis, your band sucks too. Say anything is not good. Anyway,
I have a friend who would just be very sad with you right now.
I'll fight him or her. I'll fight him. I'll knock him out. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I can't knock anyone out but myself. But anyway,
All right.
I'm sorry. Max Bemis, like his Moon Knight run is so bad. It's atrocious how bad that stuff is. Like, I mean, I can't even. Which, by the way, Max Bemis did marry up. His wife is in a great band called Isley. Very, very good band. 1,000 times better than his own band. And I liked her. I liked her band before I even knew he even existed.
There you go.
And so go check out Isley. It's all three sisters. Fantastic, beautiful melodies. And his band still sucks. Anyway, Max Bemis, avoid his comics at all costs. Not good. But anyway, my boy Alex from Comic Book Historians was like, "Hey, read Fool Killer." I was like, "Okay, if you told me to read it, you like good stuff, I'll go for it." And it's written by Steve Gerber. Now, Steve Gerber, if you don't know, he's a very good writer. The problem the problem for me with Steve Gerber is that he's a little too satire, a little too on the money for me. And I don't know, that kind of just, it kind of gets old after a while, where it's just kind of, everything is kind of like double meaning, and it's just kind of like making fun. Never takes it. It's almost making fun of itself, but it's not. which again, which I've heard. I want to go back and read some Defender stuff by Steve Gerber because some of the stuff I've heard he's done, it sounds rad. So I'm not trying to downplay the dude at all, but I just haven't really wanted to read. He's the guy who created Howard the Duck. So if you're unfamiliar with that, like just not my thing. Anyway, so Alex is like, dude, go read Fool Killer. It's amazing. And I'm like, okay. And he said, it's basically Falling Down meets Fight Club. And I said, okay, I'm in. And I got to tell you guys, I am 6 issues into Fool Killer, and it is so good. I can't believe how good this comic is. Like, it's ridiculous. And this issue specifically, I haven't started it yet, but I know the first page, and there's a reason why they're doing this on the Comics Code. Because this is definitely not Comics Code. Well, they do the first thing. Have you read this series at all, Adam?
No.
Well, yeah,
I've heard of it.
Well, it is. I can't believe how good it is. It is mind-blowingly. It's satire, but it's well written, and it's amazing to me. And this is going to kind of go back into like the 90s kind of stuff. I'm curious what you guys will all say about this. But back in the 90s, Wizard Magazine was like the Pitchfork Media of comic book stuff. And if you don't, Adam knows what that is. But if you know what Pitchfork Media is now, it's a music site. It used to be super like underground hip. Like they used to just dog. Like if they liked it, you were gold. If you didn't like it, you were done. And which sucks. I hate that. I hate when one establishment has that much power. It sucks. I don't care what it is, what medium it is, whatever. I hate when one thing has that much power because it's that hip or whatever. Hate that crap. Anyway, I digress. Wizard Magazine used to just dog everything that like Marvel did in the 90s. It seemed like nothing they would do would be like, this is not up to standards, like this is not high art, like basically. And it's amazing. Now I bring that up because Wizard Magazine, when I was a kid, I could tell that I didn't care because I'm like, I love Marvel over anything. You guys all suck, but I still like Wizard Magazine because I like to know what was going on. But what's crazy is people always talked about Marvel doesn't have high art books usually back in, there's a few things here or there, but not really a lot. Right. Well, when you read, when I'm reading this Fool Killer stuff, I'm blown away. I'm like, why didn't like Wizard Magazine and all these other people be like, hey, we got a classic here. This thing is Steve Gerber is like, he's giving us some gold here, guys. And no one gives a crap. Like nobody. Like, I mean, Max Bemis did because he read a whole thing about it. I think he liked it. That's one redeeming thing about him, maybe. I don't know. But regardless, I mean, sorry, I'm just being hard on Max. I really hated his Moon Knight run. I think that's why I'm being so hard on him. I hated his Moon Knight run. It's so bad. But that being said, I mean, like I'm blown away how much it's so good. Like I'm not done with it yet, but I'm told that the ending is a punchline. It's amazing punchline. That's what by quote Alex told me. And he's been not wrong about this run so far. I've been blown away how good this is. And again, I'm going with the layouts again. It's 9-panel grids all over the place. And again, 9-panel grids is not a Watchmen aesthetic. When people try to tell you that, tell them to shut the hell up, because that is a old school comic book format and always will be. And yeah, it's not Watchmen only. But I gotta tell you, it's just it is telling a story that is way deeper than what you're being given, and it's just it's great. It's really good. So yeah, if you're looking, there's I've gone over the not dark web, but the dark comic web to obtain these Fool Killer comic books, to say the least. So I say that, yeah, there's ways to get.
Well, what I want to say is I guess it depends on the shop, but the shop probably has it in the quarter bins or something.
Yeah, no, I definitely own the first issue. I might have a couple other issues of this series, but I don't have the whole thing. And I actually even called my boy Jeff H Comics, said, dude, you got Fool Killer, all 10 issues? He's like, nah, man, I don't have it. I'm like, can't help you. Bye. No, I was like, oh, that's cool, bro. Talk to you later. But no, he like I was bummed. So I kind of obtain these issues and read them, not the most pleasant ways, but anyway,
Pleasant ways.
regardless, this is a fantastic comic book. The first issue is on Marvel Unlimited, so go read that at least and tell me what you think. So check that out. But yeah, this comic is really well done. I'm probably gonna try to finish it tonight, maybe even tomorrow. But I love what I've read so far. The art is not like amazing. It's not hyper great, but again, it's telling a great, efficient story. And I love the kind of the tricks of the trade of how they're telling comic book stories in this. And so it's really good. Go read it. If you're looking for a really dark and satire-ish comic book that's not really like superhero in nature, go read this Fool Killer series. Go buy the back issues. Go find it on the dark web. Go check it out. It's really good. I say dark web in joke.
Like, you don't need. Yeah, it's like don't actually go on the dark web looking for Fool Killer.
Yeah.
Get the real guy. You'll get the real guy actually. He'll show up to your house.
That's really good. I like that. No, go on the dark internet, whatever party you need to go on, and they get obtain these things.
Not even that. Just like there's so many bad.
Regardless, go read it. And I don't think if you're looking for a good solid story, I think you're not going to be disappointed. It's definitely not for young readers, so don't go let 6-year-old Timmy read it. Okay, it's not.
It's like, Timmy, do not go on the dark web. Do not go on the dark web.
Yeah, do not go on the dark web, please. Do not go on the dark web. So anyway, guys, it's been great. I love these mega chill streams. I don't care if only like three other people like them. I love doing this. This is so much fun, and you guys have been all great. Mr. Carey, I'm gonna have you on again soon, man.
Please do.
I hope you jump on I hope you jump on.
There's so much we didn't get to talk about. Immortal Hulk. Legion of Superheroes.
Come on. Okay, really quick. Okay. Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
Go. Just go. Just go.
Dude, Let's
go. Dude, I'm not going anywhere. Go on, man. What you got? We can end on Immortal Hulk. Go for it. It's a mega chill stream, dude. We're just chilling.
It is one of the best comic books I've ever read in my life. And I'm not even a Hulk fan at all. Like, I'm not a Hulk fan at all. I think the only Hulk stuff I've read is like a little bit of the Peter David stuff. World War Hulk, Planet Hulk. Immortal Hulk is by far in a league of its own. It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's one of those comics. It's like it's literary. It's the artwork is insane. The body horror aspect of it is
so
just good. It never stops being unsettling. It's freaking. What? Like, okay, like he fights the Thing, and when he's like all weak this is near the end of the run or whatever, and like he lands, he's like falls out of a satellite, lands on Earth or whatever, and then you get the full page of the Thing, and he's standing there ready to fight, and then they always do the end of the issue. That's always when they say like what the title of the issue is, and then it's the title is here's the Thing, and I just put the book down, and I was like, this book is so damn good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Like, what got you hooked on the Immortal Hulk?
So right after the first volume came out, because I'm a trade waiter, waiter. People just everywhere I'm, Twitter, Bleeding Cool, everybody's talking about it. My local comic shop. Everybody's like, "Yo, are you reading Immortal Hulk? Are you reading Immortal Hulk? You got to get on Immortal Hulk." And finally, I was like, you know what? Like the first trade paperback is what, $9.99? Like I could jump on that. I could read that. I could see if I like it or not. And like 5 pages in, and I didn't read Civil War II, right? And it makes it very clear. Okay, he got shot in the head and he lived. And now he never dies. He just goes to hell, and it comes back, and then oh my God, it's so good. It's so good, Paul.
It's so hey, no arguments for me. I started reading it and I was just like, is this for real? I'm like, is this like, is by far some of the best Marvel comics I've ever read in my life. Yeah. Al Ewing is doing a run that will be unprecedented. And everyone talks about, Danny Coates is gonna come in. Venom's like a blah 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 blah. It's fine. Danny Coates is fine. Venom's fine. I'm not like I'm whatever. I know people love it and everything. I don't care, man. Like you're following up like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, in my opinion. There's no way Donnie Coates is gonna Cates, whatever his name is gonna come in and go. It might be a fun story, but
I love Cates and his run on Venom has been nothing short of incredible. And God Country is maybe one of my favorite comics of all time, but he has some goddamn big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen, man. Let's be real. I mean, granted, like I'm not saying it's gonna be bad, and I love the Hulk, but I mean, Immortal Hulk is by far maybe Marvel's best mainstream, like as far as like mainstream superhero like continuity stuff, maybe in ever. It's so I think it's there's no way it's so good. It's so perfect. It's inclusive in all the right ways. Mm-hmm. It talks about issues in all the right ways. It uses Marvel continuity in all the right ways.
And you don't have to know anything about him. Like
you don't. Yeah,
I don't know the Hulk, and I didn't know Betty Brant was like the red whatever thing she is. Like like you don't need to know it. It explains what you need. Yes, the harpy. It explains what you need to know as the story progresses. There's never been a time reading it where I've been like, I mean, I guess maybe there've been a few times where I'm like, oh, I know who the leader is, or oh, I know Doc Samson. And maybe if I knew more, like I'd maybe get more out of it. But I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it.
No, exactly.
Coming in with no knowledge, really.
And I have quite a bit of Hulk knowledge. I will, self-proclaim Hulk fan. But like I didn't know she was the harpy before. I totally didn't know. I'm like, what? This happened before? That's weird. Okay. I mean, so there's things that surprised me that he's pulling out. And I read an interview with him or listened to a podcast interview with him. And he talked about how he's really influenced by the Mantlo run. And I went and I read it right after he said that, because I'm loving Immortal Hulk. And when my daughter was born, I was reading Mantlo run as you know, I'm basically becoming a dad. It was surreal because Mantlo, it goes from basically Mantlo just being like writing fun, dumb Hulk stories to like all of a sudden writing like almost like satire, kind of like Steve Gerber stuff with a smart Hulk. And then he starts building the story because it goes through Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars, into like the end of his run where he goes back to Raging Hulk, and like it's done really brilliantly. And I'm like, I totally get where he's influenced from the Mantlo standpoint. And the Mantlo run is great. And it really is. It's so much fun at first. Then it gets like, oh, it's getting kind of serious. And then it's like, oh God. Okay. You went there. Ooh. So if you go on, man, I forgot, like, I think it's around like 270 he jumps on. Like, dude created Rocket Raccoon. And by the way, Bill Mantlo, I'm going to have a Bill Mantlo appreciation thing where I'm trying to get Alex from Historians and be like, dude, let's do a Mantlo thing. Because I think Mantlo is such one underappreciated as hell. And I just got done with his Spider-Man run because he had a run off and on with the character Spider-Man. And on Comic Book Historians interview with Jim Shooter, his 8-hour interview, by the way, which also confirmed they never went in the bathroom once in 8 hours. It was an 8-hour conversation all the way through. That's what he told me, and I believe it. It's incredible. Anyway, Jim Shooter told me through the interview. Someone's up.
Chris, I might have to go.
Get your daughter, bro.
All right, get her. Thanks, guys. It was good seeing you. Take care.
Love you, Chris Clow.
See ya.
Always insightful.
Always insightful. I love that, Chris Clow. Always insightful. So anyway, but Jim Shooter basically said, the old editor-in-chief, the guy who ran Marvel Comics in its probably glory days in the 80s, in late 70s, early 80s, whatever, mid 80s, whatever. He said that he had a talk with Mantlo at one point because Mantlo was basically just like phoning in every script.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Just barely jotting it down in like an afternoon and throwing it, here you go. And as someone who's been reading Spider-Man through the start, chronological, all the way, Mantlo came on mainly at first with the Marvel team-up stories, and those stories are goddamn bonkers. And I could totally see him being like, oh yeah, okay, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, Interdimensional, okay, here you go. Like literally, that's like 3 issues, and it's bananas. It's so weird and so not Spider-Man. And anyway, Jim Shooter like, sat him down and said, or Jim Shooter before he was in charge would basically call him out and say, Bill, you need to do better than this. And Bill would say, you're not in charge. Shut up. That's what he would say to Jim Shooter. Jim got in charge, and Bill came into his office when Bill, I'm again paraphrasing, watch the interview. It's an amazing interview. But Bill goes into his office and says, well, I guess that means I'm gone. He goes, what are you talking about? He was like, well, you don't think I'm, whatever. He said, no, day one, we're starting from day one, Bill. I know you're capable of great work. So why don't you start from here? Give me good work. And I totally see the shift because right when he jumps on, I think he's the first writer for, or at least eventually becomes a writer for Spectacular Spider-Man. I want to say he's the initial writer.
It was like Conway launched it.
Yeah,
he did a few issues. Then it was like Archie Goodwin, and then I think Mantlo does it.
Yeah,
and then it's Stern, and then it's Mantlo again. And then it's Milgram.
Milgram, but Milgram's drawing Mantlo issues before, so it's a good transition. But Mantlo introduces the White Tiger in Spectacular Spider-Man. But I say all of that because I noticed a written shift, like a total shift of the whole series right around that time frame. And when Mantlo takes it seriously after his talk with Shooter, at least I'm assuming this is what happens. It's so good. And Mantlo introduces Carrion, the whole cloned thing. Oh, dude, so good. Yeah, dude. Like there are so many great stories Mantlo does, and that run that he helps. He basically ushers in all the ESU students. I want to say I think those are all his characters.
Yeah, I think they
Marcy, Kane, all the subplots of those characters from his college days. All in that series that he did, all the early stuff, the Black Cat that he helped set up is so good. It's definitely one of my top runs of Spider-Man, but it's definitely the most underappreciated Spider-Man run ever, in my opinion. I mean, introduced Cloaking Dagger, the Silvermane cyborg character, so good. I mean, that's all Mantlo, so good. I mean, dude he's so good. So yeah, I go read Mantlo. His Hulk run is great, and also another Spider-Man tie-in with who was the main artist with Mantlo? Sal Buscema.
Yeah,
Marvel legend, and Sal loved Bill. They were a great team together. So anyway, I love Bill Mantlo. I'm gonna try to do more Bill Mantlo love appreciation. It's actually I'm not gonna get on it here. We're gonna be here another hour. But there's a sad story with Bill right now. He's actually still alive, but he's not in his right mind. He lives in a retirement home. He's struggling, and I really I wish Marvel and Disney would just give him a clump of money and take care of him the rest of his life because dude deserves it. Dude created Rocket Raccoon. That alone should supply him for the rest of his life. Yeah. I mean, that the marketing stuff alone from Rocket Raccoon is ridiculous. So anyway, I don't care if he's inspired from the Beatles song. Dude is, come on. It's awesome. Anyway, Chris, I'm glad you brought up the Hulk, man, because I love Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk's so good, and we'll get you back on. We'll do next time. I'll get you on. I'll say, listen, you pick the story. We'll do a review. I'm serious. You pick the comics. I'll read them. And we'll do it. I haven't read God Country, and I've heard great things about it. So maybe we'll have to do God Country if you want to pick that.
Hell yeah!
All right. Well then, done. And Adam, if you want in on God Country, you're in.
Maybe
because Adam's my boy. Well, if Adam's a good maybe, which is fine. I don't listen. Adam's my boy. I get it. I respect and love this guy to death. So it's all good.
Thank you.
It's all good. I do. I mean, I don't say things I don't mean. Come on. I mean everything I say, for the most part, mostly. Anyway, thanks everyone who I always should have said these things before, like, subscribe, but I just don't. I suck at being a YouTuber, I guess. I don't know. Chris, where can people find you, man? Like, where can people connect?
I'm on Twitter at Vile0, and those are two words. Well, one word, but yeah, VILE.
Those Clone Wars. Gotta love those Clone Wars, bro.
I know
Clone Wars. I love Zero. There's no BS either. I love them. Yeah. Anyway, Yeah, I love Zero the Hut. Yeah, so File Zero on Twitter. Go follow you on there. Do you have any other podcasts or anything you're on? I don't think you are. I wasn't
No,
sure.
not right now. No, kind of a.
I might have to change that. Maybe
Awesome.
you're regular on here.
Awesome.
We'll get you on here. We'll get you on here. Adam, where can people find you on?
Enchilada legs at Twitter. That's it. Spidey
Do you
Dude
like
experience. Huh?
Do you like enchiladas?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. You don't just have that because you're a fan. Like,
it's actually my name, like scrambled around.
oh, my bad. Well, I had
I mean,
no idea. I don't know people.
No, it's. I mean, I don't think anyone knows that. It's just that's a deep cut for everybody right there. I just did.
That's
I
deep
went on
cut.
one of those like. I went on a word
right.
scrambler and like my name. That was like the first thing. And I was like,
Okay.
that's kind of funny.
Enchilada legs. I thought maybe because you liked enchiladas a lot. I'm not an enchilada fan myself, but
I like them.
That's fair. All right. Well, you can find me at Herman22, 2 N's, aka P Thug, as you can see right here, and also follow the Comic Binge on all the social platforms, all that jazz. I'm sure probably only like 2 people watch this whole thing, but that's fine. I don't care. This has been a blast. I'm having a great old time. So, but yeah, follow us on Twitter, all that jazz. Like, subscribe to videos, and as always, read more comic books. So, everyone, have a great day. We'll do a Mega Chill stream soon. Bye-bye.